Hi. Welcome everybody. It's August, right? Yeah, August. It's the August virtual meetup for the Phat Life Collective. And for those that may watch the replay, we wish you were here. Come and join us next time. Um, but how is everybody doing? Let's catch up for a minute. I feel like a month is like almost too long. I almost want to do this every other week just because I don't see you guys very often. So fill me in as I like shove my face over to the side. I'm just kidding. How's it going? Oh, sorry.
I'll go first. So I went to the Emperor and Empress workshop at the end of July. It was amazing. It was amazing. So I gained so much knowledge, fire in my belly, and July was a really difficult month for me. I don't know. June was fine, but July was rough. August is trending in a good direction. I'm more liking where it's going. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yay! Yes, you were there. I'm so glad that you were able to make it. I know Christy's done Emperor and Empress with us before, and it's always like the best weekend ever because one more person. One, I love it because we really are able to kind of dive into like the everyday stuff, but then really dive into like the magic of it all and that internal stuff that we really need to work on, which allows us to have so much room to grow. So yes, it was such a good weekend for sure. Oh yeah, Christy's holding up her was it the bottle that we made?
Yeah, the money. We put the money in the stones and the cinnamon. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's mine's somewhere around here too. So
My Jericho plant's still alive. Yay!
Do what?
My Jericho plant's still alive. Yay!
They're supposedly live forever. So
yeah, I was starting to water them a little too much, and then I just kind of figured out how to do that, and yeah, it has this really lovely piney scent in my bedroom.
Nice. Yeah, for those that haven't been to the Emperor and Empress, we do a little thing with the Rose of Jericho, which if you're not familiar with it, that's like the resurrection flower. So it looks like it's all dried up and dead. You put it in some water and it comes back to life, and you can do a little magic with it as well. So we kind of talk about that. And what I love is like I don't really do much with mine. April does a lot with hers, but you can literally let it like not give it any water whatsoever for months and months, and then I'll let it sit in water for maybe just a couple of days before I let it dry back out again, kind of thing. So I love it so much. But how's everybody else? So Taylor or Amber or Chrissy, y'all don't have to jump at once. Feel free to pop in.
Things I'd say are going really good. I think there are a lot of exciting new chapter kind of things coming into my life. And I'm just waiting to see where that goes.
Nice. I love to hear that. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have to agree. I have lots of new things happening in my life. So I'm just super excited and pushing myself to be more open and pushing myself to do things that maybe I wouldn't ever think of doing before.
I love that too. Oh my gosh, yay! All right, Christy, anything? Any updates?
It seems like a lot of stuff, but like one of the things that has been pretty big for me is like kind of releasing, like or another layer of releasing, the fear of being misunderstood and like the fear of rejection and stuff like that. So, and then I came up with some ideas of how to move forward and it didn't feel like and it felt natural to me. So I'm pretty excited to be having that kind of epiphany.
That's awesome. I love seeing us grow because I know that with Taylor, this might be her first meeting because she just joined the collective. So welcome. But for us that have been here for the last few months, I'm really seeing progress with everybody because I'm trying to keep up on social media and stuff. And I'm loving how things are going for everyone. We all kind of have highs and lows, and it's one of those things where as long as we can keep those lows like contained, and not contained in a like push it down kind of way, but contained where we're not spiraling sort of way, it really shows like how far we come kind of thing. So I'm so proud of everybody. I wanted to talk a few things. Like right now, we're currently in Mercury retrograde, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Alongside of like that most recent full moon that we had last week or on Monday or whatever. I don't remember the day, but because that was a full moon in Aquarius, so the astrology has been kind of wild lately. And then I want to talk about the shadow cards that we pulled, which I'm probably have to holler at my kid to bring me my deck because I realize I don't have it in front of me. But we had pulled the performer and then the trust card. And the performer card was about, being authentic. And the shadow of the performer is that we're wearing a mask for everybody else and not being as authentic as we should be. And then that trust card is about how the shadow of that is that we're untrusting in a sense. So let me holler at him to get the deck, but somebody speak up and let me know, like, have you been kind of being mindful of that? Have you noticed any changes in how you're doing your thing to try and work through that? Share with me a little bit about how you're being less of a performer and more trusting. Am I gonna have to start calling on people?
I'll go. So my husband and I are building our roots here. And so I've been trying to look for a community in where I can be my authentic self and learn to trust kind of to what Christy was saying, like not worrying about rejection or, just being where you're supposed to be. So working on like life is too short. I don't have the energy anymore to put on a mask. So just really trying to put myself out there and trust that there are really good people out there who just feel the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, kid. Yeah, it's one of those things where it can be very scary to put yourself out there, especially if we have, other people's words stuck in our head from where we tried to be vulnerable or be ourselves when we were younger, or even not younger as in children, even though that can be a big thing, but just like being an adult in other friend groups, or because that's been a lot for me too. And what I'm finding is that my world is shifting a little bit. I've had a lot of loss. We talked about that last time in the last year, and not just in regards to a like death or anything, but just loss in regards to friendship shifting, um, uh, relationship shifting, ending relationships, things like that. But there is grief behind that. But I've been reflecting on this all day because grief has really been on my mind because I've had some triggers that I'm noticing they're not terrible triggers, but they're tear-jerking triggers in both good and bad ways. And part of that is the fact that some of these friendships or relationships or whatever it may be that are no longer as big of a part of my life as what they once were, it makes me very sad, and it makes me very like lonely of having to like start over kind of thing. But I'm having to put a lot of trust that, because what I did back in December January, early part of the year, is I really tried to open myself up into being open to the universe bringing the right people in, and being open to where I'm supposed to go, and that's hard because especially that's a step outside of the comfort zone, right? And so there's been a big shift since I started doing all of that. And with that shift comes, like, uh-oh, did I make a mistake? Because I'm right there in that like slingshot of I feel like I'm being pulled back, and I feel like progress is slowed. But something we talked about in the Emperor and Empress workshop this weekend is that even though progress can slow down, it's about consistent effort. And that's what I'm just trying to keep up, is consistent effort to show up. And little by little, I'm starting to notice new things are coming in. It's like new, like, oh, this could be good. But that trust shadow is, man, we're having to really work through that trust aspect of it. So that's really hard. So what about Lori, Christy, or Amber? Any of you want to share how you've been working through those shadows?
Yeah, so I like everything in the past month, I feel like is reminiscent of our last discussion and those shadow cards. So I've decided, to open up into like 2 new pathways for my life. And in one of them, I have another community that is supporting me with this new pathway. And I kind of have to put myself out there, and I'm opening up to the trust that they're going to be there to support me and help me move down the right path. So that's been exciting, still nerve-wracking. I get totally what you're saying. Like, you're making this choice and you're like, wait, is this the wrong path? And like, I think what you just said, like being consistent, it's the same thing. I've had that in this past month, is like, I started one thing and it was really slow and I'm not really seeing a benefit from it. But so I kind of backed off it a little bit, and I was like, no, I need to just be consistent, because the more consistent I am, then it will continue to grow. And it's like, stop getting inside my head and worrying about it. And one thing, the performer card, I was speaking with my coach, and kind of told her my fears about like putting myself out on social media. I definitely think about like what other people think of what I post or what I might say. And she's like, there's always going to be somebody that loves what you say, and there's always going to be somebody that hates what you say. And you just need to be true to what you believe. You know why you're putting it out there, why you're saying what you're saying, and don't worry about it. You will, she goes, you will not blow up, I promise you. I was like, okay. So it's like, I just feel like everything that we talked about last meeting is like, just fits into like my life, like every day for the past month.
That's awesome. And it's really hard to like, because I know that you and I have talked a little bit about that as well, in regards to I don't know how to show up on social media. This is crazy kind of thing. But your coach is absolutely right. And that's something that I relate to, because I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram or my like Facebook business page, because whatever I post on Instagram pretty much goes on that page. But I have been trying to make more content in the sense of just like me doing things, jumping in the pool or like dancing in the kitchen kind of thing. And both of those I posted recently, but right before I posted, my like stomach dropped because of that very feeling of like, oh God, whatever that fear is in regards to that. And the only reason I posted those, or what made me decide to post those versus hide them, because I sat on them for a week or so, or at least a few days, was because my mantra lately has been like, the people that need you have to see you. And if you're not posting, they can't find you. And I know that there are people out there that need me. I know that there are people out there that need every single one of you as well. But if we're hiding behind like that fear of performing or trusting what other people have to say, we're never going to be able to find the right people for us, kind of thing. And so it's so important to, like, it's okay to sit on it and be like a little bit, but taking that next step of just like, just do it, so that the people that love what I have to say can see it, and I can just ignore the people that that are gonna hate, like you said, that just gonna hate what I have to say. And the one of me dancing in the kitchen, I'm literally just vibing. The song that's playing, I'm just vibing. And it's probably it's probably my best video I've had in a while. I've got like 1,400 likes on it, and like a few thousand views or whatever on it. And I've had a couple people like in my inbox being like, I appreciate you so much, just to show up as me, because I feel like we don't always, like big girls like me, especially my size, there's not a whole lot that get that representation of being able to just do and live life. Glitter and Lasers is probably the only one that I'm familiar with that's probably around my size, maybe a little, that lives life. Like, I take inspiration from her and have for a long time. So I truly hope that as you continue on your little journey, Amber, that you're able to just post a little more and really step outside that comfort zone and trust the process, that it will grow, but that consistency is definitely key for sure. So, Christy, Lori, any of you?
Mine is essentially the same, but mine is more in a personal nature. It's more about being authentically me. Because, and I've talked about this over and over, like hiding in the broom closet. And like, okay, just embrace. You can be a weirdo. You can be, like all the things. You can hang a skeleton outside of your house if you want to in July. And if your neighbors say anything, oh well, that's on them. So I've kind of embraced that a bit more. And it just makes my weird little heart happy. And so many people have been like, oh my gosh, but then there are so many people that are like, that's awesome. I love that you do that. So I'm finding my way through the world, navigating, and I'm finding that there are people that when you do that, you think, oh, we're so close. And they kind of navigate because a different path than you do. And that's okay for them. And it's okay for me. And it's hard sometimes, but you navigate it, let it go. But I'm just really excited right now. Super
I love
excited.
your excitement. Yeah, I love your excitement. I've watched you grow now for almost a year. I'd say it's been about a year or so.
Yeah.
And you've grown so much in that year. Like, I'm so proud of you.
You're going to make me cry.
Oh, don't cry. I mean, it's true. Like, that's my favorite thing about meeting new people or doing what I do with the Phat Life, is that I get to see people like come in and kind of be like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then a year or so later, they're like fully blooming. And I'm like, yes, this is all fine. I love it so much. So yeah, absolutely. I love it. All right, Chrissy, your turn.
Yeah, I'd recently like shared with my, like the Facebook group that I facilitate, that, I'd kind of held back on a lot of the stuff that I was sharing just because I felt overwhelmed. It was like, I just felt like it was really just a heavy bout of perfectionism, and realizing that I was holding myself back because I wanted everything to be just so, even though I was still coming across, I was still kind of relaxed, but I mean, it was still just, it was like a kind of a bit of an aha. So I was like, okay, I don't have to do this. I know I don't have to do this. It's okay. So.
Yeah, I love that too. I know that you strive so hard to have that perfectionism because we've talked about that a little bit too. So for you to do that and be like, okay, we're just gonna do it. I love that so much for you too. So
Yeah, I've had a program for several years. I'm just going to just start teaching just for free, like in lives, just share, and then kind of like, kind of get centered on how I feel about it. So I'm excited about that.
yeah, I love that for you. I'm excited for you.
Thanks.
I know that, oh, I had something I was gonna say in regards to that, where that perfectionism piece. I don't know if you guys got the notifications where I've posted a few things in the last few days in regards to resources and shops and just how to get started on your journey. These are things that have been sitting in my drafts for a while that I was like, you know what, just fuck it, just do it. Just do it. And I still have quite a few drafts that I've been sitting on because of that perfectionism. So I get it. I get it so much. But that actually leads me into the astrology that's going on right now because a few days ago we had the full moon, and that was a full moon in Aquarius. And that full moon was to kind of signify change because Aquarians are very innovative. They are meant to bring in new change. And so it's one of those things where if you've gotten a new, like, I don't want to say like bout of like motivation recently beyond the Emperor and Empress glory, that actually is the full moon, like saying, okay, excuse me, we're highlighting what's not working because we really need to push it out so that we can make room for new things. So, the full moon is a time to let go of things that are not serving us, and it's going to highlight like what's not working. So, and Aquarius, like that particular sign is like, we ain't doing that no more, And so, if you've been feeling that, that's because that's the depending on how it's lining up in your own chart, you might feel that more in a particular like aspect of your life. So like for me, Aquarius is in my first chart. And if you're not familiar with astrology, we have our chart is broken up into 12 pieces, and it kind of starts with who you are as a person, and it works its way around to what we value, how we communicate, our home, our creativity, our health, our relationships, our community, our spirituality. All of that is broken down in your chart. So depending on where Aquarius lands in your chart, that's kind of going to depend on where the full moon falls. So for me personally, that full moon fell, I believe, in either my first or second chart or my first or second house, which is going to be all about me and how I show up, or my money, depending on what degree the moon was. So, and I don't remember. And I have been getting this bout of like trying to reassess what's working in my life in regards to how I show up in the world. But I'm also getting this bout of like, what are my values and what that looks like? Because I want so badly to help as many people as I can. But I'm in this like, and I have been in a while where I have all this information I want to share, but I have bills to pay, kind of thing. And it's that, and I know we are all like that. Like we have so much stuff that we want to share. If we could just barter and trade and do that as much as we could you imagine where the world would be, right now compared to like money, 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 money kind of thing. And so I like being able to share as much as I can, and here is what I'm trying to do. And part of me is like, I'm not trying to gatekeep, but I'm also like, just like your time is valuable, so is mine. And that's kind of where I'm like, okay, I know that thing, like I see the collective shifting. I see the Phat Life shifting. Hi, Valerie. And I see, I hope I hit, oh, there she is. And I see like things are shifting in a good way. And so I'm very much like, oh, okay. How can I improve on everything so that I can give my best to to what I'm doing. Because what I do with the Phat Life in my events, from, you know, the workshops that I do to the small classes that I'm offering to my readings and things like that, I want to give my best to that. But how do I do that without burning out and making sure I'm taking care of me in all of that, you know? And that's the hard balance. And I know that's hard for everybody. So yeah, so we have that full moon in Aquarius that just happened. And then we're also in Venus retrograde. So Venus retrograde started in mid-end July. I think it was the 22nd. And it will go all the way through until like early September. And retrograde in any aspect for any of the planets is a time where things slow down. It's time to reflect before we react. But it's in the sign of Leo, and Leos are very much ones that they're going to act fast. So, so with this retrograde, especially Venus being the planet that really kind of rules over our values, like aesthetics, our money and beauty and friendships in that way, or even relationships in that way. When it's in retrograde right now, it's going to have you being like, is this relationship working? Is this friendship working? Is this job working? Am I making what I'm worth? And with it being in the sign of Leo, it's like, if I'm not feeling appreciated, then you know, kind of thing. So, and so if you felt like, one, if exes have been popping up in your inbox, or if you felt like, man, I really want to have a conversation with somebody or whatnot, that could be the Venus retrograde, like trying to pull things to the surface that maybe need to be talked about, or maybe it's a reflection or a projection of things that you're doing in your life that you need to kind of work on that shadow piece and figure out where that is. But because it's the retrograde season, you don't want to just pop off at the mouth on it. You want to really sit back and reflect on, is this a me problem, or is this a situational issue, and work through it and have open and honest communication with that, so that growth can happen in all of that. And, you know, so add that on top of the full moon of Aquarius, and people are really popping off, you know, that, so it's definitely one of those things where the more that you can kind of keep your peace, in the sense of like I said, reflecting before reacting, that's going to be the most important, at least from now until early September. So that's some big astrology that's going on. And then add on top of that, we have the Lionsgate portal, which, if you've never heard of that, that is a time when the sun is in Leo and it lines up with Orion's belt. And it is basically a time that is looked at to being a great time to manifest the things that you're wanting in your life. And so, and that happens from like the very end of July to like August 12th. It's only like 2 weeks maybe that it's open. But it basically, Orion's belt, and when it lines up with Leo like that, it actually lines up with all the pyramids across the world. And that's why it's called the portal, because it's lining up with all the, you know, the Egyptians and the Mayans and everything like that. They knew what they were doing. Astrology ain't gonna lie. The stars do not lie. So, so this is a time where it's going to be very important that we really decide what we want and put it out into the universe, and do some candle magic or a jar, or even if it's just writing it down. Like, that's my favorite way to manifest, beyond like a candle magic, because candle magic's my favorite. That's my jam right there. But if I don't have a candle, or if I'm not really feeling like I want to sit down and take a whole moment of like pulling my altar out and doing some candle magic, I just write it down. And I'll just repeat it for as long as I feel necessary. And so I'll repeat affirmations And I know I've said my money ones a lot, which is like money flows freely from multiple sources. More money is always on its way, things like that. But lately, I'm finding myself that my affirmations are in the sense of I'm living a soft life and people want to help me live that soft life. Or my love is reciprocated. Or some others that I've put is like my family is healthy and healing in all aspects, or like I'm trying new affirmations to kind of to manifest that in my life because I'm tired of a hard life, that's for sure. And go from there. So tell me how you guys are feeling. That I feel like I just word vomited on everybody, but like where are we feeling with this retrograde? How are we feeling with this full moon? Did you even know about the Lionsgate portal? Like what you doing for that kind of stuff? And just lay it on me. Who wants to go first?
I definitely didn't know about the Lionsgate portal, but now I'm going to make sure I set out my intentions. I'm like, dang, I wrote that down.
Yeah, and you can Google that, and there's so much information. So, like, feel free and have fun with it.
I did know about the Lionsgate portal. On the full moon, I went out and actually did my own little ceremony, just to guide me on the path where I'm heading. Went beautifully. So I'm still again really excited.
Yeah.
I think the timing's really funny because I've noticed a lot this week. I've said, let's just manifest it to like friends and family. And I'm like, I've never said this. Where is this coming from? So I like the timing of it all. I didn't know any of this, so I'm taking notes, but like I'm excited.
Yay.
I've known about the Lions portal. I didn't really do any rituals per se. I was just kind of very mindful of the day and just kind of doing that. So I didn't really do anything formal.
Nice. Melly, I know you're just coming in late, but is there anything you want to share? She might be editing some pictures.
I'm here. Hello. I am editing pictures actually. Um, I can say that this wonderful retrograde has been a bitch, and that's all I gotta say.
Okay. It has been a bitch in a lot of ways, and it's retrogrades, in my honest opinion, retrogrades are not anything to be scared of, because a lot of people will hear like Mercury retrograde and we get scared, like, oh shit. But it's also like one of those things where it is meant to kind of show us like what's going on. And for some people that like in the witchy community, they look at the planets as almost like the gods kind of thing. And retrograde to them is as if the gods have turned their back and they're not watching. And so chaos ensues a little bit in that aspect. And so with the Venus retrograde, and I totally forgot we have like 4 or 5 other planets in retrograde. So a lot of the planets are like blind eye right now. So that's really going to fuck up a lot of things. But Venus retrograde is kind of the main one right now because the personal planets would be Mercury, Venus, Mars, a little bit in regards to like Jupiter and Saturn, but they're really more generational. We feel those the most because they spin so fast that we really experience, like we can experience them in real time. Whereas like Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, those are generational because they take so long to go around the planet. And so like Pluto, which is gonna, like, we've been going through some Pluto shit as in the US. It's a generational, because it literally takes like 20 years to go through a sign, kind of thing. So we really feel that Venus retrograde and Mercury and Mars, more than anything. Um, but yeah, I do feel like retrogrades are really a kick in the ass if we're not taking that time to sit back and reflect on it. Because especially if you don't follow like astrology or you're not familiar with it, um we people like don't realize like this is what's happening. So if you, I don't know if you pay attention to the news. I don't pay attention too often, but when it's like real big and viral like that, I'm like, okay, let me look into it. But that like riverfront brawl that just happened a few days ago, where like those boaters got in a fight with the security guard or whatever, or captain or whatever, and it turned into a full on like riot. That stuff is like lining up with the city's astrology and other things, where it like it's popping off in ways that, you know, you never really know exactly, because astrology is about reading the patterns, but that kind of stuff lines up, and it's really fascinating when you pay attention to it. So, but just take this time to reflect before you react. And that's not just reflect on how other people are acting, but reflecting on how you're acting as well, in the sense of like, am I jumping to conclusions too fast? Or am I demanding more attention from my friends or partners that I normally don't? Or feeling like you're not getting enough attention from your friends and partners than you normally do. And on one hand, I'm like, for me personally, I feel good. I feel okay. But then on the other hand, I do feel like I'm not getting enough attention from everybody. I'm like, give me attention. And I know that it's not anything personal in regards to a lot of my friends and family, because I know that we're busy, and like I'm a busy bitch, and so are most, like I know Mallory's a busy one too, like and my other friends. But like that Venus retrograde will have you being like, you know, very, very quickly. So, and if you're not sitting, like I said, reflecting before you're reacting, that's a me thing and not necessarily everybody else thing, then it can start big issues. Or it could be the other way around, where it is a them thing. That's why you have to reflect on it before you jump to conclusions, kind of thing. So yeah, but add all of that astrology on top of the fact that we drew the shadow cards for the performer and trust last month. It just all ties in. It really does, because that performer is like, are you being true to yourself, and are you being true to your path? And are you trusting that even if it's not fun, that it's all meant to work out the way it's supposed to work out, kind of thing. So, um, anybody have any questions or anything you want to share on any of that? If not, I'm gonna pull the shadow card for next month. But feel free to jump in. So these are the color your shadow dark cards. They're the ones that I have been using for the last couple of months. So I'm just asking what shadow it is that we need to focus on over the next month. Um, all right, what do we need to focus on the next month? Ooh! So 2 cards flew out before I dropped the deck. And the first card is authentic. And it says, you mask your true nature to fit in. You pretend your success is real. That's the shadow of it. And then it has an affirmation where it says, I integrate the facets of my personality and I am truthful. And so basically, the way, like, especially on the heels of the performer, that feels very much like, are you being authentic all the way around, or are you only showing up partially authentic depending on which friend group you're in? And that's the big thing. And so just to read what the book has to say about it, because the book had, like, I love the book on this too, is that while you are inauthentic, your ego has to make someone else small so you can feel big. Your undermining tactics and need to imitate power mask your fear of being discovered as a fraud, and the shadow game is exhausting you and depleting your resources. Anybody feel called out right now? You can just raise your hand. To be authentic, you have to be transparent. And to be transparent, you have to be honest. Your addictions stop you from being authentic, and your refusal to admit your addictive behaviors mean you're living a lie. And if you cannot be honest with yourself, you cannot be honest with others. You have become spiritually bankrupt. Authenticity is a presence of grace that emanates from within you as a knowing and acceptance of who you are. Integrate and align with your dark and your light, and your power and your fear, and claim the magnificence of you. Who you are right now is the perfection of creation, a most precious, valuable human being who forgot for a while that your true power is your ability to love yourself and others unconditionally. When you turn up authentically conscious in every moment, you will have discovered that it is easier to love than it is to be right. I don't know about y'all, but I feel a little called out. And again, that affirmation on that is, I integrate the facets of my personality and I am truthful. This particular card also, especially with what the book is saying, talks about that shadow, like the dark and the light. Without the darkness, we cannot have light. And without the light, we cannot have darkness. And that's really hard, especially in this day of social media, where you only see what people want you to see. And some people pretend that their life is perfect. And sometimes I feel like people pretend like their life sucks so bad because that's just the mindset that they're in. And that's just how they want to portray themselves, or and maybe it's not a portrayal, but hopefully that's coming across the way I want it to. But it's like, really, I know for me, it's really hard sometimes because I want to be such a positive light for everybody, and I want to uplift and empower as many people as I can. But it's hard when I feel like I'm sitting like when I feel extra alone, or I'm having to go through extra battles. And this past week, I've been going through so much with my mom and my family, and trying to like hold my own in regards to some boundaries I've set. And I know I've been talking about that a lot. But in that, I'm realizing that I've kind of taken a step back from some of the people that I love and care about. And it's not because I don't love or care about them. It's just that I feel like I almost feel like a black cloud is over me a little bit, and I just need to reset. And on one hand, that can lead into depression, because then I'm not surrounded by the people that I need the most, because I'm not actively reaching out to do so. But then on the other hand, like, I don't want to bring anybody down, or I don't want to show that dark side of not being uplifting and empowering all the fucking time kind of thing. And so man, I feel really called out on that one, because I'm trying to find that balance of how do I be authentic with those that are around me, but not pull away from what I'm working towards, one, or the authenticness of that I can't be perfect all the time. So yeah, I think I asked y'all, are you feeling called out? And then I didn't even let you speak. See, that's a dark side that I have to work on too. So anybody want to share?
I do feel called out, and it was when you started to read the book, I was like, oh, nope, there it is. I am like a shopaholic, or like retail therapy, kind kind of thing. And I was doing a lot better. And I've realized that it's happened a lot lately. And I'm like, why is this happening again? Is this a warning sign for something? Am I trying to fill up some void? And that's usually not and this is terrible, a conversation I have with my husband until it gets to like the, okay, no, we need to quit it kind of things. And I've been thinking about that. I was like, no, we can't get to that point. And so that just was the addictive stuff, and not coming forth with that and stuff like that was just what stuck out to me the most at the moment.
Yeah, that's such a good one. And maybe we don't realize that we're being addictive sometimes too. And it can be shopping. I've noticed that too, is my spending's been a little out of whack than what it normally is. And I literally this week was like, what the fuck is up with me right now? You know? So I get that. Anybody else?
Well, I definitely feel called out. So for me, I had a lot of struggles with depression, and anxiety a little bit, but more so depression. And my immediate thing is like if somebody hurts my feelings, or if I start to go down into that deep dark pit, um, is anger. Like anger, I know immediately is a secondary emotion. It's always a secondary emotion, but that's immediately what comes to the surface. So I have had some issues with that. So to me, yeah, definitely feel called out for sure.
Yeah, I totally can relate on that one too. Anyone else? Okay. If not, I'm going to go ahead and go into the next one. So authentic fell out, and then right behind it was I know. And the shadow part of that says you already know everything. You do not need anyone to teach you. And that right there, I feel called out in other ways too. But the affirmation of that is I seek out new levels of awareness, and I'm open to being guided. And so let's see what the book has to say. So for I know, it's every cycle of growth has a beginning, middle, and end. You tend to use the I know defense to learn more when you are at the end of your cycle, the top of your game. So this becomes a two-edged sword. You are acclaimed as having achieved top level success. However, your arrogant, I know it already, is keeping you from the information you need for a new beginning in the next cycle of your personal, financial, business, and spiritual evolution. Your fears that you may not be good enough to step up to the next level, or that you will have to switch from being the big fish in your pond to the little vulnerable fish in the unfamiliar bigger pond, has you resisting with, I know more than you, to stay both safe and admired. Shadow wants you to stay in the dark and resist the teachers, mentors, books, and knowledge that will inspire your next exciting adventure. Start a swear jar and put in $1 for every time you say I know, to help you remove the block that is your shadow, that is of your shadow's way of keeping you from bridging the old and the new. That also is very much an I like call me out kind of thing. But that's been something that I've also been trying to work on, is like that trust that we talked about a moment ago of, I'm trusting that I like the universe is putting me where I need to be. And if that means that, so much loss that's been happening in the last year is opening up space for so much new, that's a new pond for me. And that's a new piece in all of that. And it can be really scary. And that's where we talk about, like earlier in the call, where I'm like, oh my God, did I make the right choice? And some of the decisions that I've made in just the last few months because of that, I know, because I knew where I was going. I knew what I was doing. I knew who I was, making moves with or whatnot. And then suddenly I don't. And that rolls right into that being authentic in the sense of like, suddenly I don't know what I'm doing, and therefore I'm gonna hide and play the performer, or I'm gonna, not be as authentic as maybe I should be because of that fear of not knowing, or that fear of like, like Amber, we talked, you were saying like fear of like showing up online because of what somebody might say. That's because we don't know what they're going to say. And that's the shadow that's preventing you, or me or anybody else from being able to step into the next aha or newness. So yeah. So with both of those together, now that we know what, like, shit, this next month we're really gonna have to we're gonna show it up, right? How are we feeling? Like what just straight up called out, like, or are we excited, or give it to me?
Well,
I'm
this
kind
just
of curious how
completely,
that. Oh, sorry.
sorry, it completely lines up with everything that has been going on in my life. I feel like literally, oh, okay, yep. And we've talked about this, the whole, it's not the fear of failure, it's that fear of what's next, what happens next. Like when you said the I know card, my jaw dropped and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we go.
I try to keep it together as being the leader of the call, but when I saw it on my desk, I was like, oh shit. Christy, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just saying, so I was looking forward to like the next month, because I don't I'll catch myself like thinking that I know, but I think, and this is kind of is a joke, and it's just, I kind of jokingly say, I've been so beat down by thinking that I know, that when I find out that I don't know, I just stop, because it's kind of it's not worth it. I still like kind of catch myself like, oh, I know the answer, like, oh, I was completely fucking wrong, okay. So now I'm just like, I don't actively try to, as like a trigger habit so much, because you do it enough times, you do remember what the cattle prod felt like the time before. So it's like, no thanks, I'll just be surprised like everybody else. So
Yeah, that Pavlov's bell on that one, right?
yeah.
Man, yeah, and that makes it really hard for sure. Um, it's also one of those things where we don't know what we don't know, and then by claiming that we know everything, that, like you said, that cattle prod like just zaps you in the ass.
You were wrong. Like, fair enough. Say no more. Okay.
Right? And
Okay.
then two, by understanding that we really don't know anything means that we know enough to allow new things to come in. So this one really, like, this is some, not just in regards to how smart you are or whatever that may mean to you, but just like that spiritual level of like, we don't know. And the more that we can be open to learning, that can be scary in and of itself too, but it can also really put our comfort zone in a wider space, kind of thing. So
Yeah, my friend Robin, she'd said that, when we always say we're stuck, it's like we're not stuck. We're like the universe. The universe never gets stuck. It's just like you just don't have the awareness yet. So sometimes you have to sit still, wait for it to circle back around, then come to you like, hey, friend, you were looking for me. And then, because, right, we always have those examples of like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then we go like, just not think about it for like 30 seconds. And then shit just fucking shows up. It's just like, okay. So, yeah. I don't know.
yeah,
Sometimes.
for sure. And then not only that, but sometimes that feeling of stuck is the universe's way of pulling us back so that we can be shot into the future, like into where we're supposed to be going. And that can suck just as bad as like when you feel like you're having breakdowns, not necessarily stuck, but you're like, things are breaking down and they're not like I thought or how I knew they were. Can be even worse, but a lot of times those breakdowns allow us to have breakthroughs. And without a breakdown, you can't have a breakthrough kind of thing. So yeah, I get that so much. Anyone else want to?
I think it kind of finished up the sandwich for me. I used to jokingly say, oh, I know everything, I just don't remember it all at once. But I've always been terrible at asking for help. And if I don't know how to do something, I usually dig my heels in the sand and just don't ask for help. And since I've been doing a lot of healing and I have had that fear of, well, what's next? What's the next chapter? I usually do like an all or nothing thinking and set crazy high goals and go, wow, my perfectionist didn't hit those crazy high goals. What the heck? So I think it's a really good reminder to be open to that and to ask for help and to just listen. Because I'm really sick of coming back from therapy and my husband goes, I told you that months ago, right? And I'm like, I was not ready for that information yet. Thank you. So just to really listen to all those around me and figure out what to do with that.
Yeah, I feel that so hard too. Amber or Mallory, do you want to pop in?
I think how I interpreted those cards for myself is that not that I think that I know things. I for me, it's on the other side. I am nervous to share what I do know for fear of being wrong, which holds me back because I don't get to have like that back and forth, like in my career, of like if I express what I do know, even if it is wrong, I don't have that back and forth from somebody else to learn and grow on what I do know. So that's how I'm kind of interpreting it. And then the authentic for me is a path that I've kind of been going down is my personality. I tend to change myself to those that are around me rather than just being myself, which I've kind of lost some of like who I am in a way, and I'm trying to get back to that. I'm still not 100% sure who I am. So that's growing progress. So that's kind of like how I took those cards for myself.
Yeah, which makes that makes perfect sense. And I love how you interpret the cards in that way for yourself too. So, because I feel like that can totally fall in line with what you're doing and where you're growing, but you've still made progress in the year or so that I've known you as well. And so I'm still very proud of where you're at, because I see the little steps, even if, like you're making them, even if you may not realize it. I see it. So.
Well, you are definitely an inspiration for me. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. So, we'll Mallory, do you want to say anything? I don't want to just cut you off, but I know you're editing, so I don't know if you want to pop in, but I want to give you that opportunity before we end the call.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So, this has been such a great call. I love when you guys are able to show up and just like, let's hang out and have a conversation and just talk about how this shadow work really can help us grow and integrate things in such a good way. So for this next month, really take these cards. I'll post them in the shadow work channel, so that you can kind of check in from time to time, but really take these cards and kind of be mindful with them over the next month, few weeks or whatever, to say like, am I being authentic? And am I being a know-it-all? Or am I being fearful of not knowing, like Amber said, and try to work through that process. And then when we come back next month, we'll check in and pull some new cards and kind of go from there. But between June being resistance and then July being the performer and trust, and now authentic and know, I'm seeing a pattern here that's kind of like as a collective for us here, it's really interesting to see how that's going. So Before we end the call, anybody have anything else that you want to share? Shout out or anything like that? Nope. All right. Well, hopefully I'll see you next month. Don't forget that there's a couple events that are coming up for those that are local. And we still have just a couple of retreat tickets left for those that may not have grabbed theirs yet. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. And I will see you next time. Bye.